Welcome to the LaGrange Boys Podcast. Join Toby, Sam, and Caleb as they compete weekly in the Capital District bowling scene.
Dad.
Yeah, buddy.
Stop talking so we can start the show.
Okay. The show starts
right now.
Welcome, friends, family, and everyone else to episode number 1 of the LaGrange Boys Podcast. My name is Toby, and I am here with my two sons, Sam and Caleb. This week, you'll get to know all three of us a little bit, and then recap my Space League Practice Night debut. We are doing this podcast for fun, and fun we will have. Each week, you will see our success, our highs and lows, but most importantly, you will see all the fun we have achieving all those. Who knows? Maybe we will even include some of our bowling friends in this podcast, so stay tuned. So enough chatter. Let's meet Sam, Caleb, and myself.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm 8 years old, and I will be starting second grade this year in Gloversville. This will be my second year of bowling. This year I will be bowling in the Juniors League on Saturday morning, Arterial Lanes, and on Sunday morning at Arterial Lanes. Besides bowling, and also play baseball and basketball, and I like to read. I like to bowl because I want to bowl a 300 and have fun. My goal this season is to have fun and to bowl 100 every game. My dream is to bowl for Gloversville High School like my dad and to be better than him.
Hey there, everybody. I am Toby. I am 45 years old and the proud daddy of both Sam and Caleb. I will be bowling on the Tuesday Night Space League at the Arterial Lanes this season, and likely in some tournaments as the season goes on. I started bowling in the junior leagues when I was 5 years old, back in the early 1980s, at Sunset Lanes in Gloversville. Sunset now, of course, is called Starlight Lanes. I followed my cousin Paul to Arterial Lanes around 1990 and remained there until I was 17 years old, when I made the switch over to the very popular at the time Classic League at the Arterial Lanes in Johnstown. I was also part of the Gloversville High School bowling team for 4 years and on varsity for almost all of that time. I was the co-captain my final 2 years, my junior and senior year, and my final average was just over 200. It was like 205 or so. After high school, I bowled for a few years in the adult leagues at Arterial Lanes until circumstances took me out of the sport. Namely, I hurt my knee pretty bad and aggravated an old injury, and that pretty much sidelined me. Fast forward 20 plus years, and I am back in local bowling. My father, my late Uncle Greg Simonson, and my cousin Paul got me into bowling when I was 5, and it was my son who got me back into it here just recently. Outside of bowling, I am a business manager for a local practice, a member of the Gloversville Little League Board of Directors, a Little League baseball coach for both of my sons, or will be for both my sons, currently for Sam, and also an announcer on the voice of the Glenridge Motorsports Park on Sunday nights in Fultonville, and a content creator for my own little side project, LaGrange Media Productions. I got back into bowling not only because of Sam, but for him. There was no better way to get him and his brother Caleb hooked on this great positive sport than by participating while they do it too. My goal personally for this season is to average between 180 and 185, and like Sam said, have some fun. I only averaged 169 in the adult junior league at Arterial Lanes with Sam earlier this summer, but that was also my first time back on the lanes in 20 years. So hopefully I get much better here during this regular season and get up into the 180 to 185 range. My dream is one day to bowl in a PBA event, even a PTQ, or seeing as I'm already 45, a PBA 50 version of the PBA. Either way would satisfy my dream of bowling in the PBA event. And this podcast hopefully will help everybody get to know us all a little bit better, because we're going to see you all at the lanes for years to come.
Hi, Kev.
So now that you've met Sam and myself, let's meet the third member of the LaGrange Boys Podcast. That would be Caleb. Caleb is my youngest son. He is 3 years old, and he's starting bowling for the first time this year, or at least we're going to attempt to anyway. He's going to be in the bumper division, part of the junior division at the Arterial Lanes every Saturday morning, and starting in October on Sunday mornings at the Perry Lanes in Johnstown. So hopefully Caleb will like this and he'll get to bowl all year long, but he is 3 years old, so we're not going to push it. We're going to give him the chances to bowl the 2 games for each league each week, and we'll see how much that he accomplishes. If he bowls even half of those games each of those days, it'll be very much a success in our eyes. We'll recap some of his ups and downs throughout the season as well, mainly ups because he can only go up. He's just starting bowling, and we have gone as a family a few times, and he's loved it each time. The problem we're going to have is getting him off the lanes. He just wants to bowl, which is not always a bad thing. I kicked off my return to weekly adult league bowling on Tuesday night with practice night for the Space League at Arterial Lanes. It was a blast getting back on the lanes in a true team league format for the first time in more than 20 years. Not to mention, it was awesome throwing my Storm IQ Tour 78U for the first time. We bowled the normal 3 games during practice, and I would be lying if I said I did amazing. The truth is that this season will be a rebuilding year for my game as I learn the new bowling world. And make no mistake about it, it's nothing like it used to be. Whether that's a good or bad thing, well, that's for you to decide. While I didn't do the greatest, I also didn't have the worst night. I stunk up the Adult Youth League Arterial during the summer, only averaging 169. I believe there are 3 reasons for such a low average, an average of mine that hasn't been that low since Ronald Reagan was in office. First, I was bowling with Sam, and my concentration was on coaching and teaching him, which will always be my priority. Second was the equipment. I bowled that league with 1 ball, and it was way too much for me. I used my Black Widow 2.0 hybrid, which for someone coming back after many years away was a mistake. I also didn't have a spare ball, so shooting spares with it was challenging to say the least. Thirdly, spare shooting, which pretty much goes hand in hand with the first 2. Tuesday night, though, I learned a lot about shooting spares with a spare-specific ball. For that first game, I started with the IQ and should have started with the Black Widow. The lanes were pretty heavily oiled, and the IQ wasn't strong enough no matter where I moved. After about 5 frames, I made a change over to the Black Widow, and then like 3 frames later, I made a change back because the lanes had already started to break down. I finished game 1 with a 175. Game 2 I struggled at the start, but then figured things out about halfway through. All I needed to do was adjust my speed, which of course is one of those old school adjustments that I should have realized. Once I slowed things down, the strikes came fast. I finished the game with 5 in a row. I finished game 2 with a 189. Game 3 started out pretty good with a strike and a few spares, but the lanes changed again, and I was a little slow on my adjustment. Once I made the adjustment, not surprisingly, the strikes came back. I ended the third game with a 169. My biggest takeaway from practice week is that I need to work on my spare shooting and be more consistent. And remember that spare shooting with a spare ball is not like spare shooting with a ball that hooks. It goes straight for a reason. My new Storm Plastic spare ball has helped my spares a lot. It may take some getting used to, but it's definitely helped. I made a lot more than I had been during the summertime, so I'm very optimistic that I will hit my goal of averaging at least 180 to 185 this season. Next week, we start for real. I can say it was a lot of fun being back out there in the league again. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed bowling with Sammy on the Adult Junior League during the summer, and I would definitely do it again if it's offered. But being able to concentrate on my own game is fun too. We start for real this Tuesday night, and I will recap it along with both my boys, Sammy and Caleb's first weeks on the junior and bumper bowling leagues at Arterial Lanes in the next episode. This has been a LaGrange Media production.